Hello everyone, Santia here with more Let's Make a Game Astral Collision. And we're focused on Kendra because I'm focused on Kendra. There's a bunch of different things to go over. I'm not quite sure the best order. You know what? Let's discuss a few things, just right off the bat. There were some bugs here. I fixed the bugs in these town entrance things. What ended up happening is I'd had things that said which direction to be facing. And those directions then later appeared in here. So for example, you entered this side originally, it was always an up direction. So then it'd be like, oh, you're facing up. So we first warp you into Sycamore, the place I wanted you to be. And then we make you face up, and then you're facing up now. So then we transfer you to the other location. It was not great. It took me a while to figure out what was going on. I had that problem over here because I added some stuff for Caledon going different directions. So let's try to figure out. I don't even remember all things I may have done are. Caledon, I have modified to have exits/entrances in the three other directions other than just the main one here. These are all kind of like sneaking off into the woods. So I've added that. Okay, nothing there. I've started trying to figure out stuff with a poem. But there's not a whole lot more to say here in Caledon. There's more stuff to talk about in Kandara. I've started adding a poem here. Something, in the land of Kendra where monsters roam, and heroes serve those who fear to leave home. This is going to just kind of be like a recurring chorus in all the Kendran poems, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot else to say about a lot of these. Abandoned Hunter's Camp, I don't think I have anything with. I've done a bunch with Iron Hill. We'll get to that. Sycamore is Sycamore. Sandy March I've been adding interiors. I added homes. One of the things that's a weird. Okay, so there is a map limit in the editor of 999 maps, not in the game engine. In the editor. So if you wanted to have stuff, you'd have to do a bunch of chicanery in order to be able to make it work. If you hit that limit, like you could have like 10,000 maps. Well, I don't know what the theoretical cap is in terms of like how much can the system handle, but you could theoretically have more than 1,000 maps or more than 999 maps, but the editor doesn't support that because of course it doesn't. So you can see this is 103 down here, and I'm like, I have a lot of places to make. Maybe I don't want to make individual maps for all of these interiors. Maybe I want to combine them on maps. This style didn't quite work because of positioning stuff. I can probably fix it by just moving everything over. You know what? Let's just do that right now. So if I wanted to, I could just take this and be like, let's just move it over to like here. And then we don't need this part. And then we just move these inward. Basically what was happening is it would kind of position it in the corner, and it was really strange. So let's just go ahead and do that and fix that over here as well. I don't know, position it like here. That's fine. The main thing I'm going to need to make sure I do is update all of the portals that move you inwards. I will generally be trying to do this, but keep in mind it's going to have to be for things that have like the same location and like music and stuff. So like the tavern with its different settings is going to have to be a different map. The Guildhouse and Inn. I may in the future refactor stuff in order to kind of fix all of these, or to use fewer maps if I start actually legitimately running into problems with space. Where were you set to go? Over there. You need to go over here. It's not a concern yet, but it's something that I'm aware of at this point and want to make sure I'm planning for, because I want to make sure I'm not running into that map limit. And so with some of this stuff, I'm like, maybe I want to be a little bit careful with how much space I'm taking. Weston here is now made. It was before there's like a couple of walls and stuff. There's now a town here. Yeah, okay. There's like one poem that I've actually done. I think it's the one in Lionel Home. And you can see that I put all the homes on a single map here. Again, I'll probably want to move these inwards. I don't think I'm going to do it right now, though, because you all don't need to watch that. But those are those 3 buildings, and there's the warehouse here and the guild house, inn, and tavern over here, which still kind of needs to be fleshed out with stuff. But anyway, I've done some map stuff that way. This still needs all of its interiors. Fortress still needs to be finished. Lionel Home, I've added this with its poem. The son of Kendra, a valiant knight, sought to save the people from their plight in the land of Kendra where monsters roam, and heroes serve those who fear to leave home. So that's about Sir Lionel. Okay, so on that note of wanting to conserve maps, Iron Hill has been pretty dramatically adjusted. Now you'll notice that there are now like walk-in points here. I have decided that instead of having... So originally there was, just for context, this branching spot here. This was mirrored. So this would also go down to an area, and then there's the old mine down there. And then this leads to the Newton... No, this leads to the thing underneath it. Leads to the east branch, and here's the inner area. So like that goes down and leads to that. This, like I said, originally went down and then went to the old mine. I got rid of the old mine because basically I was realizing that I was going to be putting way too many resources into the Iron Hill mine here, just in terms of like amount of time that I'm putting into things, as well as like maps. I don't need there to be a ton here because I have other stuff that you need to do as well, or you can do as well, and I can add more things. And basically, I didn't want to localize all of the dungeon in Kendra in the mine, and I felt like that was starting to happen with the amount of map. So I just made this old mine map. It is still a work in progress, but you can see this area right here is duplicated from the branch. I'm going to close this again. So it's right here. This takes you over to the old mine map right over here. And then these 2 here are the entrances from here. So this and this. I've tried to line everything up so that way they kind of are on point. I could maybe count to just like double check to make sure that's the case, but I think that this is close enough that it doesn't really matter. These areas go off in very different directions. You can see one is kind of off on the left side, one's kind of on the right side. This is initially locked. If you come in here, you can open it because it's barred from this side. Good old Dark Souls door. There are a number of areas where they connect, in theory, but like here it's damaged so they don't connect. Here it's damaged so they don't connect. They'll eventually connect up here at this lake area. What I have been doing for these mines is I've just been using the generate dungeon functionality to create a maze, and then I just use that as a starting point to kind of do things. So this area is like badly flooded and like falling apart and stuff, and they just don't use it anymore. I actually gave that guy some different, slightly modified dialogue about it. I don't know if it's that one in particular or this one. It says, "Be warned, this path leads to the old mine. We had to abandon it when it started flooding, and now it's near pitch black and full of vicious monsters. Make sure you're truly strong before you head this way." So he's just like, yeah, maybe think twice about going over here. And then I've also added actually this adventurer here. And she says, "If you go this way, be careful. I only got so far as opening the gate. The monsters beyond it are far more dangerous than I'd expected, and it was so dark, too." You might be wondering what this darkness is about, and I'll show you momentarily. But anyway, so yes, I've been working on this old mine area, and it takes a while to flesh out a map, and I'll need to figure out what loot goes in here and all that sort of stuff, too. But let's show you what it's talking about with darkness, because this is something else that I added, and I'll explain how it works once you've seen what it is. This group, I think, is the ones, that have chilling in the mine. So you go in here, and it looks like this. That gate's barred. And then here's her talking about it. So you can kind of wander around in here. There's no monsters in here right now. I have them turned off so that way I could kind of like explore and wander. So I will talk about this system in a moment, but just to give you kind of a feel for like, oh, okay, that's not really a direction I can go, but maybe I can go down here. It's going to be a little bit mazy and a little bit like confusing, potentially at times to try to explore down here, and that's fine. So the idea is it'll get a little bit easier as you like go on. I found the lake at the top. Now this is a legitimate maze that I'm not gonna like keep quite that intense. You can see a channel of waters running over there. I want to kind of try to find the collapsed tunnel, but it requires me to kind of go around a different way, I think. Yeah, this area is very convoluted. Yeah, it's just if I just go up this way, you'll be like, oh, that's caved in. So what's going on here? I think I've kind of shown my point. You know what? I'm just gonna close it. We'll talk about things. So there's a couple of different things to talk about that I kind of want to show off. By the way, just as a random aside, if you look at the ninja, I nerfed her dexterity a bunch and gave her a bit more in her casting stats. I don't know if this is too much or not enough, or if I just need to nerf daggers or what. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. How are we doing? 11 minutes in? Cool. Some amount that'll get cut off the front, but probably not much. Okay, so common events. This is where the magic happens. So we have overlay, and we have make darkness overlay. Make darkness overlay just shows a picture. Edit. So there are 3 darkness maps. They're just a large plane of black with a bit in the middle, like this. There's low, medium, and high. And the plan that I'm having right now is that you start off with a low, but you can get items that will increase the visibility range over time, over the course of the game. I haven't added any functionality for that yet, or anything, but I call this common events on enter. So if we go here, I think, make darkness overlay, common event. So going back to the make darkness overlay, this creates this image, and then it also turns the overlay switch on. The overlay switch is a parallel switch that looks, right here it kind of explains what goes on. It tracks an image along with the player. It turns it off automatically if the map does not have the overlay true tag. Picture 2 is used for the overlay. Picture 1 is the bestiary. So it has a script check. If the map, the current map, basically data map is the current map's data, .meta.overlay, then it will grab the location of the player. Now, keep in mind, this is a parallel, so the overlay has to be on. It grabs the position of the player and moves the picture to be in that location, at centered, and at the overlay X, overlay Y, so wherever the player is on the screen. And it puts the overlay over them. And then if the map does not have the overlay tag, it erases the picture and turns the switch off. So it'll turn itself off. So if we look at the edit here, you'll see that this is locale 8, which is a new locale, which is just that dark reddish color. And then an overlay of true. Overlay exists, overlay is true. Therefore, it will do that. But as soon as you leave it, you go into a map where it's not on, and it will just turn off the overlay, which is the cool bit of that functionality. While we're here in common events, I also did some stuff for quests. The quest log stuff. So I added sound effects for getting a quest. You get that sound effect, and it pops up this thing right here. Quest added to quest log. So this /I187 makes it use the icon for the quest log. And then this slash with a this hand? Yeah, this one. This guy, the right bracket. As you can see in this thing, it displays all of the remaining text on same line all at once. So this just like basically makes it pop up very quickly. And then this is whatever's in variable 1. Quest completed has a similar thing. It has its own sound effect. It plays that when you complete a quest. And then quest updated is that sound effect. And it also has the same structure. So if I am doing something with a quest, which I can show you very easily down here with the ancient catacombs, because this adds a quest, I set the control variable temp equal to the name of the quest like this. So you can see the highlighted part here. You can do this. You can just set variables equal to strings if you want to using the script option. So this is script this. This is a string. It will assign a string into the variable because the variable does not care about what type it is because this is JavaScript and JavaScript is type whatever. So yeah, you can do this nonsense. And then when I tell it quest added, it's like, okay, I will use whatever is in variable temp, which is variable 1, and I will display that. It is not a number, it is a string, and so it just draws a string because that's how this works. So yeah, that's going on. I did add a thing, by the way, to this map. Actually, 2 things worth talking about. The first is I added a connector right here, which just... This was kind of way too off by itself, and this just makes things more connected, and it makes it less tedious to navigate this space. I also added a tint to it. So it now gets this, whatever this is. So let me explain. This starts the map off at -64, -64, -64, 32 for the tint settings. So if you go into, where is tint screen? Tint screen right here. It would be basically, it's not quite night, -60. These are all 4s, but it's kind of equivalent to starting off here and then this at 32. So something like this is kind of like the initial tint settings that it has. And then you can see that. And then it plus lit. Lit is the lit times a value. So lit is the control variable right here, divine skill sets obtained. It's the one that I use to count how far you are done with a quest. So each skill set that you obtain will make the lighting a little bit different. It will increase the red value by 9, the green value by 6, the blue value by 12, and decrease the gray value by 4. So by the time you've done all of them, the lighting will now be at 9 times 8 minus 64, which is like 72 minus 64, whatever that is. I don't feel like doing all this math right now. And then this right here will get slightly less on green. It will be like 64 minus 48, or -64 plus 48. And then this will be times 12. 12 times 8 is, what, 96 or something like that? So it'll go up. So basically, this gets kind of like a bluish-purple color to it, because these lights down here, the idea is that each one you kill, and then this right here just assigns the tint value into the thing. And each one of these, I've added this right here to it as well. So each time you defeat one of them, it adjusts the lighting. It's extremely subtle, and it's one of those things, by the time you're done, it's like, oh wow, this looks super different than how it started. But it's so subtle, it's really hard to notice it for each one you defeat, because it's just like a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter. I can actually hop into that area. Those are the things I did there. Let's see. I don't know. You guys might be close. Sure. Let's go. So this is what the lighting looks like when you have all of the things lit. It's just like this now, instead of being dark. It starts off dark and it gets up to this once you're all the way up. And whatever the lighting is there, I just leave it so that way it's the same over here. Inside there. So this just has its own thing though, so it's gonna be dark because it's nighttime. I haven't done a whole lot with any of the weapons or other equipment that you get, but something that I have changed quite a bit, actually, I'm just gonna come down here to do it, is I also added some additional screens. So we have this new statistics option. Hard pivot to this discussion. So we have this status screen, which is no longer the same thing. It shows you your equipment over here. It has your character description here. Then it has this section right here that tells you about your weapon damage and like how many times you'll attack. So like a dagger will have a 2 here, for example. And then it just shows you your condition resistances. So you can see these are all 100%. These might be like condition rates. I don't know if I should change that. And you can just do your usual, just cycle through everybody. You can see slightly different values on everyone. But then there's statistics. Statistics is statistics. It's lots of stuff. So this gives you how much maximum TP you have, how much MP regen you have, and then a bunch of stats. So it has your typical strength, dexterity, fire, earth, wind, water, and now speed. Speed is newly introduced here. Your physical evasion, your physical accuracy, your magical evasion, your magical accuracy, your aggro, which is the target rate, I think is what it's called in Engine, but it's basically how much do enemies prioritize targeting you. Your counterattack rate, your reflect magic rate, your HP regen, your TP regen. Again, MP regen is represented here next to your MP, so that way I could fit more stuff in here. Your guard rate, your physical damage rate, your magical damage rate, your heal rate, and your MP cost rate. And then you have all of your element rates over here. I wanted to give you a lot more information because this is a system where it's really difficult to understand what equipment's better than other equipment if I don't give you the information to be able to suss it out. So I want potentially to at some point add a equipment comparison screen that has like all of these things and just a gigantic list that you can scroll through that's like comparing stuff. But that's not something I'm going to be doing anytime soon. I've had enough of making UIs for the moment, and I want to make more maps and quests and random NPCs to talk to. But you can see, whatever equipment she's got on right now is giving her half damage from those elements and 75% damage from those other elements. I think it's a water jacket, and then robes for these guys, giving them dramatically reduced omni damage and more MP regen. So this is something that I added. If I actually come over here, this is the status screen thing. So I pulled a bunch of stuff that I was using from AC modification out over to here, by the way. This whole status screen block, I pulled it out of AC and moved it over there. I added the status screen right here into the command window for the menu. So this is where I get the new statistics thing from the main menu. On personal OK is this function selecting a person. And it's like, oh, I needed to add this to it. And add main menu commands, this is where you actually add the command. So that stuff makes that work. This is modified pretty heavily. This now has the condition resistances and the attack type stuff drawn, and I've moved stuff around. I've added a thing for draw condition rates. If you are immune to a state, then you'll get 4 dashes instead of number % sign. A draw vertical line function catered to work with this one's particular need. This draw parameters is no longer being used, but it's just kind of hanging out. Equipment is now, I adjusted where I was drawing that. Draw a weapon name, you'll notice I changed this to now give fists unarmed, and it no longer shows the damage afterwards because the damage is in a separate thing, which gives a little bit more space for the weapon name there, and I think just looks a bit better. And then we have the scene statistics. This is just another copy of that same status. So if we go over to RPG scenes, it's like the scene status and the window status. It's just a copies of those that have been renamed to scene statistics. All this does differently is it just creates a window statistics. I do kind of want to eventually add the ability to use the left and right arrow keys or something to be able to swap between them. But it's not something I've looked into just yet. And then window statistics is just a bunch of code to make it draw the window that I want. So this is the stuff that draws the character face. Draw horizontal line I've modified to only go only partially over, so that way I could have all of the resistances in there. Draw vertical line is just... this is a different one than the previous one because it needs to work differently for this one. Draw basic info. This is just the same. This is the one that draws your character's portrait and the class, but everything's been moved around to accommodate what that one needs. So if we go over here, you'll see that this one has the character class down here. If I go over to status, it has the character class over here with the leveling information. This would have whatever states you have on your character underneath here. So if I had, I don't know if any of these, do I have actually? Hang on. So if I fed him an apple or an orange, and I went into status, it shows up down there. So this has things arranged slightly differently compared to how this has stuff arranged. And you'll notice it doesn't have the apple there, it has the name there. Although fire should be up a little bit from the apple, maybe by like a point. It's probably 29 instead of 28 because of the apple, the orange. But yeah, so drawing the actors HP, MP, and then MP regen stuff, like the MP regen text is here, and then TP max. I just decided to put TP max later, so it's lower down, even though it's drawn higher up. But don't worry about it too much. Here, I'd say I can put this over here. And then like I calculate out what your MP regeneration actually is. And if it's a negative number, then it'll be negative. Otherwise, I make sure to intentionally put a positive sign in front, right here. And then I actually draw your max TP. And then this like draw parameters thing is just a copy of the previous one with a bunch of stuff added and like, yeah. So, and then I did a bunch of stuff to like trial and error to get it like positioned aesthetically within this space, so it feels like it fills the space without having unusually large gaps anywhere. And I just go through and I just grab a bunch of stats and just draw them. I made a draw parameter function. So like here's the draw element rates, which goes through all the element rates. And then I had to do a bunch of stuff for like, okay, what are the icons that I'm going to use for each element? And then draw that particular element. Draw parameter just does the whole change text color to this thing, draw the name of the thing, reset the text color, and then draw the value. It just does not use draw experience information. But you can kind of see like that's what's kind of going on in that. So there's a bunch of stuff there. Another thing that you see here is this replace optimize with used equipment. This is just a ginormous thing that goes through. It's seen equipables. So it's like what stuff can you equip. This is again another modified version of the status screen, but it replaces optimize. So if I go out of here and I go to equip, you'll see that instead of having an optimize option, which does not make any sense in my system because like it's impossible to determine what's better in a truly objective sense for the most part. There's some cases where like, okay, yeah, this guy wants to use a fire damage wand, not an earth damage wand, and stuff like that can be kind of objective within like classifications that way, because like this guy has a really terrible earth stat and a really good fire stat. But by and large, it doesn't want, you can't like, oh, it's better for this character to use this type of weapon as opposed to that type of weapon. Like there's within types, there might be like preferences, but it's the same. Like equipment all has trade-offs, right? Like this provides this versus that. And so it's like you have to make decisions. So can equip replaces optimize, and it just gives you a list of the types of equipment that this character can use, which is something that I wanted somewhere and might as well be here. You can cycle around characters this way as well. And when you go back out, it will be like if I go over to Jennifer the Warlock, it'll now be on Jennifer the Warlock. But this is a way that you can be like, oh, what equipment can this character even actually use? This is all by type order. So if I go into this proper and I go to types, it's just in this order, which is not necessarily ideal, but it lines it really up nicely. If we go into the code here, again, this is almost identical. It's just seen equipables. If I go into this here, to where, I had to add a special thing for Sophia. All of the equipment types in the game turns out to be too much for that screen. It literally runs 3 columns and then off the side. So if it's Sophia, then it just says literally everything and doesn't draw anything else. But then it just goes through all of the weapons and says, hey, can this character use this weapon type? If so, draw it. And then it goes through, can this character use this armor type? If so, draw it. And then draw weapon type and draw armor type are just using the icons. Skill sets I had to hard code in a specific thing for, but otherwise, because I ordered these guys based upon the order they were in on this, I can just give the starting one and just add to it. So that's where you see type plus this value. That just allows it to go with the for loop. And then just draw a horizontal line, because we draw a horizontal line right there. Equipment used by Jennifer the Warlock, horizontal line, equipment list. So those are several things that I have added. Let's talk about some other things that I've added. I'm just going to close this for now. Okay, let's see. Yes, this we've already talked about. So perform action right here. This line of code specifically checks to see, is this an attack or is this animation ID less than 0? Then do the perform attack animation. This addresses a thing in the playtest notes. We're going to go through the playtest notes here. So where is it? Down here. Yeah, right here. Figure out if I can make skills tagged with use weapons. Use weapon to show the weapon like when just attack is selected. So if I go and I look at the game, this is not how it works. It doesn't look at use weapon at all. If I look at attack, you'll notice that it uses animation normal attack. Basically what I've done is, if it uses animation normal attack, and it's a player, so for example, Frost Strike uses normal attack, then it will do the weapon attack animation instead of the other animation for just skills. Because it's like, oh, you are using the normal attack animation, therefore it should use the normal attack animation. This made that work properly, the thing that I was trying to do. So if I load up the game again, because apparently I'm loading it up a bunch and closing it because, I don't know, I'm a doofus. Sure, this will work. And I go somewhere where there are enemies, such as just out here. This might not be the best place for it. Whatever, I found an enemy. Good job. Okay, so if we look at... see, I don't think this will actually happen with Flame Swath. So if we look at... because Flame Swath, I'm pretty sure... Hang on. Yeah, right here. Flame Swath is marked as /fire. It's not marked as uses weapon. So it's just going to use the skill icon, which is, maybe I want to change it, maybe I don't. So this won't do it, but target hands will. I'm pretty sure. I don't really care. And Hunter Strikes will as well. So watch the characters carefully. That uses the weapon attack animation. That uses the use skill animation because it's marked, because of how it's marked. So that's what that does. I could potentially also look for the uses weapon flag on the meta, and maybe I still will in order to make these things work. Like Flame Swath work properly. But anyway, this makes it kind of function. You know what? I'll go ahead and just add here. Let's just add this really quickly. So this line of code would look something like action.item.meta.uses weapon, like this. Theoretically, this would work. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's find out. Let's find out together. We're doing it live, folks. Well, not live. We're doing it on recording. Theoretically, I could also encounter an enemy here. Actually, a really easy way to get an encounter is to come over into this annoying tunnel. Okay, let's see if that made Flame Swath work. I'm just gonna guard with these two. Yep, it used the attack animation. And that used the attack animation off of skills that aren't attack. So, that's exactly what we wanted. Yep, cool. So anyway, that was me adding code on the fly to make that thing work the way we wanted it to. So yeah, that now does the thing that we want. Cool. I just felt like the amount of time you actually spend just using regular attack in the game is percentagely somewhat low, and so doing that just makes it your actual weapon show up a lot more and makes weapon attack skills feel more like weapon attack skills when you actually see your weapon used in the attack. So that was something that I really wanted to make sure I got added. Let's see. Are there other things over this way? Oh yes, there is. There absolutely is. We already talked about weather and day cycles, so I think that's fine. Let's go over here. This is another thing that I did that was very simple. It turns out I just have the recipe floating around here. So this is crafting number. Let's give you some context. I need to go back to the game again. Blah blah blah. Context. Sure, whatever. You guys are relatively near a place where crafting can happen. Sure. Let's just go out this way where crafting happens. Over here where crafting happens. So salvaging. Oh. Okay, you know what? Let's just pick some people who are actually part of the Adventurers Guild. You're probably part of the Adventuring Guild? Or not? You know what? I can find out real quick. Nope. Okay, whatever. Let's just pick an older save, like this one. Okay, these guys should be part of the Adventurers Guild. So this is most notable here. See how this says Mystical Dust times 4? Before, when you did this, it did not show the times 4, it just showed Mystical Dust. This is crafting number. I've made it show the number that you craft now. That's what that's about. Boy, that took too much bomping around save files to find. Okay, so let's start going through stuff here. Reconfigure the starting area to be better and less tedious to get through. I think that's hopefully done. I have reconfigured it. It is different. Hopefully it is better and more enjoyable to get through. Assess if water would be better for the jacket from the Mercantile's Shop Center based on who can wear it. Yes, so the jacket, for those who may not remember what this is talking about, is, I don't know, in this giant list somewhere. Hydromancer's jacket. It used to be the Pyromancer's jacket. I looked at it, and I realized the people who can wear jackets. So if we go over here to equipment use planning, and then we find jackets in my gigantic pile of information, you can see jackets can be worn by the sorcerer, who is fire air themed, the Blizzagus and the warlock, who both use water, special forces, and the sage. So the Blizzagus and warlock, I have modified the jacket for their use. The sorcerer can also use robes, which probably is preferable. I made robes. I also changed the robe. So the robe used to be a healer's robe. It is now a pyromancer's robe and gives you the fireball spell. It just fit better. And that works then for those people. So that has been some stuff that was modified. There's nothing changed here. These guys are fine. Adjust the TP part of bandage wound. I've done so. Bandage wound. Find previous. It's up here. I have changed this formula pretty considerably. What it does is it increases the amount of multiplier here by your TP divided by 80. It was previously 4 times TP, but that's going to scale badly late game. So this is just continuing to use the strength and dexterity values and can bring this up to a higher multiplier. If you have more maximum TP, this can go higher. If you have lower maximum TP, you're just not going to be able to get as much benefit from this because you're at caps. I have this wonky line here. All this does is this shows it as a fractional value, some value between. All right, this can show decimals basically is what's going on here, but it limits it to 2 digits. So what I do is I take this value and I do this division. Because this is a multiplication across an addition, I can distribute this across. So it'll be that times the 2, and then this times this. So I'm just kind of rejiggering that to reflect that fact. Times 100, I round that, and then I divide that by 100. So it'll always just be some value that 100 works with. You know, it's not going to have like 0.56793. It'll be like 0.58 or yeah, whatever, based on what I said. So I've done that. I've rejiggered that. So that is now fixed. I'm just going through and marking things off. I have also made Icy Breath more damage, more reliant on TP percentage. So if we go into here and I go Icy Breath. Oh, I did change Enduring Spirit to Cure Curse as well as poison. Just random thing that I noted while I'm on this. So Icy Breath, originally it was like the 3 times was outside of here. I moved it so that way it does water damage and then 3 times your TP rate times wind. And I made it cheaper. I just wanted to nerf it a bit, and this made it a lot cheaper and it made it a lot more reliant on TP. So I feel like that's probably in a better spot. I need to play with it some, but you know, this is a process. I also made pickaxes found in chests busted and therefore less effective. So if we go to weapons and I go pickaxe, you'll notice that we found the pickaxe. But this is not the pickaxe as we knew it. This is the new pickaxe. This is the old pickaxe made new. This is the old pickaxe made busted. It does striking damage instead of piercing damage because it's blunted. And it has a description reflecting the fact that it's a ruined mining implement. It's so heavily worn that it's only good as scrap. And it has bad accuracy and bad attack speed. You can technically use it, but it is not very good, and I wouldn't recommend it. So I have done that. I also made a perfectly functional pickaxe that you can acquire. Crafting, we already talked about this one. This one I already talked about. I did try to look into the ability to make martial attacks use the punching animation, but the animation is tied to your weapon, so if you have a weapon equipped, I would have to like go deeper into the system to be able to figure out how that works. I don't know if it's too complicated to figure out to be worth doing or not. I may look into it still. I did check all the monster skills and it does look like they have the normal state on them. I fixed Sycamore having entrances from all possible directions, including the north. I did that. The lady in the mercantile building is showing up at the wrong time of day. This was actually pretty easy to fix. What this is referring to give you some context, is scrolling up further. It's right up here. This lady right here was showing up at the wrong time of day. I wanted to show up in the evening, but she's showing up during the day. That's because this time of day index is 0 is morning, whereas the in-engine under the hood, when I'm keeping track of time of day, its day is 0, so I just didn't realize that I had set up this time of index to be proper and not weird. So morning is 0, day is 1, 2 is evening, and 3 is night, so I just had to adjust that. It was a pretty simple fix, but I'd forgotten how I'd made things work. I double-checked Fierce Thrust. Fierce Thrust was bonkers damage. I made it less bonkers. Whoops, I'm not going to find it in this one. It's a skill. Fierce Thrust. I now made it double the plus damage that it does, which is still pretty good. But before it like doubled all of the damage that it did, and that was it. It did very hard hits. So I have done that. I did the very dark cave locale. I already mentioned that. I've nerfed Mishizo's dex. This is going to stay here because I need to keep her original values hanging around. Losing to oozes may let you win. Yes, it did. I fixed that. That is referring to in the abandoned hunters camp. Right here. This guy, I just added a can lose. So if you lose, you game over. If you win, then the posse is slain. So that fixes that bug. Quest marker phone responds during the day if you have the quest. I think I did that, right? That's in Caledon. Hunter's Home. Yeah, these all have the night flag on, so it shouldn't... If you have Ooze Posse, it only should show up at night. not during the day. So I'm content with that. Add more details to the status screen. We already covered that in great detail. I did fix this, and I did that. We discussed those. So this one was killing the 8 Guardians quest. You can no longer get it a second time. If we go into here, I just added a if the kill 8 Guardians, if get the quest is off, then turn it on and add the quest. But if it's already on, then you can't. This won't show up again. So this is fixed. And you can see the quest added thing that plays a sound effect. And then this actually plays a sound effect when the warps turn on. It tells you that they have been activated. So that way you know what's going on there. There's probably little other odds and ends that I have done that I have not discussed. Because I've been doing a lot of different things, everyone. There's been a lot of like little bits here and there. I feel like there might have been some random skill thing or piece of equipment that I may have done something to. Oh yes, I remember. The Sage. I was having a huge problem figuring out what I was doing with the Sage. The reason why I was having a huge problem trying to figure out what I was doing with the Sage is because every character class has 12 skills. Like the Ninja has 12 skills. You can see here it goes up to 12. The Sage you see will now go to 13. The fundamental issue that I was having with the Sage, design-wise, was that the Sage is fundamentally about versatility. You don't know what the Sage is. The Sage represents possibility. So what I have done here is I didn't like the way that I basically was like, oh yeah, but you only start with one skill, and that skill gives you, like, sets you up for doing a thing. I didn't like that because it felt like it was contrary to what the Sage was about. The Sage was about possibility. So why would I use this thing that's about possibility, but then says, oh, but really you just do this, and possibility is something that opens up over time. I was trying to figure out what to do, and what I ended up settling on is, you know what? I'm just going to give her 2 skills to start with. That solves the problem. One skill goes in one set of directions, the other skill goes in the other set of directions. Now, these skills are not complete in a sense. If I go here, you can see Fire Warrior's Dream. They're all called dreams now, by the way, because I think that made more sense. Gain the skills and stats of the Fire Warrior. A character can only have one dream active at a time. That's how this works. Skills and stats of the Cleric. The idea is that these are going to like synthesize skill sets from across different areas. So I don't have skill sets for different areas really implemented. This doesn't quite work yet. That's just how it is. But it's going to like synthesize, it's going to basically bring skills from different regions together and across like different skill sets. So it's like clerics will be able to do this broad set of things, and Fire Warrior will do this broad set of things. I'm probably not going to settle on Fire Warrior. It's too long anyway, but I just needed a term for it, so there it is. It's too long because it runs into the MP cost is what's going on there. So right now, because they're in kind of a, I just need something to function to say, oh yeah, Sage 13 has to be all the way down here, which is a little awkward as well. But there's just, it's kind of tight in space because then I hit food. So Fire Warrior gives you 50% more attack, defense, strength, dexterity, and magic, and fire, and 50% less earth, wind, and water. And it gives you the Fireball, Fire Strike, and Skillful Strike skills right now. This is decidedly not complete. But I'm not going to be able to get this into a proper state until after I've finished enough skill sets. And that's just going to take time. Currently, Cleric's Dream, reduces strength, dex, and fire by 50% and increases earth, water, and wind by 50%. And gives you some healing skills. Like this is just how it's currently being structured. It's likely to change once I actually have all of the skill sets implemented, but until then, like, this is all very uncertain and all of that sort of stuff. But I needed to figure out something to do with the Sage. That's what I kind of have settled on. Giving it 2 skills at the start kind of solved my problems. So I think that covers everything that goes over all of them playtest notes of things that I have addressed. And yeah. So other things will kind of like hang out there. Yep. Okay, I think that covers everything that I can remember to talk about. There's certainly it's certainly likely that I have missed a thing or two. But hopefully that covers everything. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments down below, or you can join my Discord server, a link down below as well, and I have an Astral Collision channel that you can ask questions in there as well. I've also been posting some updates, like when I did stuff with the darkness or the status screens or whatever. I've posted or commented some things inside that Astral Collision thing. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. So thank you all very much for watching. This is the part where I'm supposed to tell you to like, comment, and subscribe, right? Do those if you want to. But thank you all for watching, and yeah, until next time, take care, everyone. Goodbye.